Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today we have an absolutely stunning lavender collection from our friends at 49 and Market, which features papers, laser cuts, rub-ons, and acetate embellishments. So let's take a look, and we can start with the Lavender Mini Collection, which contains 18 sheets of 6 by 8 inch pattern cardstock. So let's just flip through here, and you can see the beautiful colors and designs that they've included in this collection. Such a beautiful color palette, lights and darks to contrast. You've got some gorgeous botanicals in here, really nice collage, a little bit of script in there, as 49 and Market often does. And as you can see, just so easy to work with. Beautiful, beautiful. Some of my favorite designs and some of my favorite colors in here too. So that's the paper pack. Then to go along, we have a package of rub-on transfers, and you can see some of the designs here, but let's take a quick flip through. So you've got some butterflies, you've got botanicals in a couple of different design ways. Then you've also got backgrounds, collaged, borders, you've got some words on there, little patterns, as well as sentiments, perfect for the front or the inside of your card. I'm going to set this aside and we can take a closer look at the Lavender Laser Cut Elements set. Now this includes 124 laser cut embellishments. You can see them again on the front of the package. But let's flip this open and we can see all of these gorgeous botanicals. You've got some faux ribbon, you've got some butterflies, and just beautiful designs in here. Here's the second sheet. And all of these will just punch right out of the backing piece in there. So they're really easy to remove and very easy to use. Now another thing that I really like about the laser cut elements is that the reverse side of the front of the package has some images on here that you can just cut apart and use on your projects as well. So a little extra bonus in there too. Now last but not least, we also have a package of beautiful acetate pieces. There are 70 pieces included here. So I'll flip this over and you can get a good idea of the variety of elements in here. But these are just a really nice way to add some shine and some texture to your projects. Really pretty and really fun to use as well. So as you can see, we have a lot to explore today, lots of beautiful materials to work with, and I think you're really going to enjoy this collection. I have a couple of projects and some demos to share with you, and I can't wait to get started. I'm so glad you're here. Come play with us. Let's start with this card, which features this stunning soft collage pattern paper with an acetate embellishment as the focal. Now I've also got quite a lot going on with the rub-ons here. So I've got a layered rub-on sentiment down at the bottom, and then quite a large background area here, which is that faux texture design of rub-ons. And that area here comes from this sheet, which you might remember was a full sheet of all different kinds of splotches, a bit of text. You've got a lot of nice variety in terms of the lights and darks of the lavender. And what I want to point out about this sheet in particular is that if you want just a little touch of texture and color on your card, you can grab your scissors and snip out a small portion. You can also do as I did here and cut a large area if you really want a sizable portion of your background to have that beautiful faux texture design. So that's what I did on here. Now, since we're talking about rub-ons, I thought it would be a good chance to demonstrate just how easy it is to apply a rub-on. So I've got my rub-on botanical here. I've got my patterned background paper. I've also got the applicator tool that comes with the rub-on pack. So you've got that ready to go. What I recommend you do when you're trimming out your rub-ons from the background sheet is to keep the liner on for as long as you can, because the rub-on design can get transferred to your hands or to areas that you don't want it to go. So hold on to those two together until you're ready to figure out where you want it to go. And then kind of figure on your pattern paper what area you want this to be on. So I'm just going to pop this down here in place, and I'm going to fold up a corner of this edge here so I have something to kind of grab onto. And then using the edge of my applicator tool, I'm just going to come in here and gently but firmly apply some pressure along the edges and then down the center of this botanical. I want to make sure that I've got coverage on all of those areas there. And then what I'll do is just gently and slowly pull this up. If I pull this up and I realize, oops, I've forgotten or I've missed a spot there, I can pop this back down and go back and reapply if I need to. And there we go. So I've got a beautiful botanical on my pattern paper. Now I can also layer another rub-on top of this rub-on. And that's what I've done here. So I'll bring back in my card and you can see my sentiment on here. Well, this particular design comes from the sheet that is just loaded with all kinds of sentiments and frames, many of which are nested one into the other. So I had the frame, which comes with the ampersand in the middle, and I cut that out. And then I cut out separately you and me. So I think the frame was right here and the you and me were about here. I trimmed out those words, applied the frame and the ampersand design, and then on top of that layered the you and me. So you can do some layering with those designs as well. Now just a quick aside before I demonstrate that, when you've got areas like if you wanted to get just that arrow design in here, what I suggest you do, put this sheet, both of them, onto a cutting mat or cutting surface. Take your X-Acto knife and make some cuts on either side, and then you can go in with scissors and trim out the rest of the design. So that's what I found worked for me when I wanted to get out the element that was right in the center there. So keep that in mind. Your X-Acto knife will definitely be a help there. Okay, so I've got my botanical on here, and maybe I'll come in. I've got this word sweet, which I've cut out. And let's see, we can layer this up. Again, I'm going to kind of play with the positioning here. And where do we want that to go? You don't want to obliterate the letters, but you still want it overlapping. Let's pop it right down on here, overlapping the stem a little bit. And I'll just apply this right on top. So you've got some options with your layering as well. Okay, so pull this up slowly, slowly. There we go. So do feel free to mix and match and layer up some of those designs. Now what I do want to point out again with this card is that the edge of my, it's like a postmark design here, is actually also on top of my acetate leaf. So you can also layer things up onto some of the acetate as well if you want to. So keep that in mind as you are mixing and matching your designs. Okay, so back to the card design. The pattern paper I've cut slightly smaller than the card front, and I inked the outside edges with Lovely Lilac. And this is a dye-based ink from Hunky Dory, and it goes beautifully with all of the colors in today's collection. Then I glued this to the card front, and I've added 2 laser cut butterflies popped up on foam tape, plus some of these grape crystals. And these come in a little package like this, and you've got small, medium, and large. And those just added a really nice tone on tone, but shiny effect. Really nice little bits of sparkle on there. Then I've also got a laser cut bow here at the bottom of my acetate botanical. And for the card inside, I have some more pattern paper with a butterfly rub-on overlapping the leaves that are printed on the pattern paper. Got a laser cut border here and a laser cut label with another rub-on. So that is our first card project today. Got another one that I want to show you too. This card also features the acetate embellishments. I've got the 3 butterflies on here. But here I used foam tape, and that's going to give those butterflies a little bit of extra dimension. So let me bring in my butterfly. And you can see what I do here is just cut some really small areas of foam tape, and then I place those onto the darker portions of the design. So this is on the back side of the butterfly. And then when I put this down here, you'll see that you don't see the foam tape showing through. But you'll want to use a minimal amount of foam tape on there. You don't need to cover the entire piece. And I would definitely stay away from these open areas here where it's minimal color and design. But you can see that looks nice on the light, and it also looks really great on the dark too. So again, lots of nice options there. So you can use your foam tape as well. And then for my card, I have 2 layers of patterned cardstock, and I love how this collection has lights and dark, so it's got some nice contrast. And I added rub-on botanicals overlapping between those 2 designs. Both of these sheets have been inked with the lilac too, by the way. I have a laser cut bow going along the edge, and then I've got laser cut sentiments here. This piece is popped up on some foam tape, and of course some more of those beautiful crystals. Then for the card inside, I have some leftover snippets of pattern paper that I just had to put to use. Both of them are inked with lilac. I have a rub-on border here. I've got a laser cut border going between the 2 designs, a botanical rub-on, and then also a sentiment rub-on going along the edge here. This easy to make card has a minimalist look. These colors and patterns in today's collection work together so effortlessly, and you can really go for a soft tone-on-tone effect as I've done here, or something more high contrast as we've seen. Now here I've used the rectangle scallop dies to make the focal area, and this is one of my favorite ways to create a highlight area for a card focal. So this is the set that I'm working with, and these are the 2 dies that I've used. So this rectangle shape measures about 4 inches by 4 3/4. So that's my main area. And then I've got a nested scalloped rectangle that is just slightly larger. So you can see how those 2 work together really nicely. And of course you've got 12 all in total, so you've got a variety of sizes, which just makes that a lot easier. Now I've inked around the outside edge using the lovely lilac, and then I have a rub-on flower and 2 borders kind of overlapping. The bow is a laser cut, and the butterfly is an acetate embellishment popped up on foam tape. Then I have the little friend rub-on applied directly to the card front. For my card inside, I've used the same die cut style with another rub-on flower. I have a sentiment slightly overlapping here. And then I have my butterfly acetate embellishment just glued straight down. So a couple of tips on gluing the acetate onto your cardstock. So let me show you this. I've got this beautiful acetate piece here. You can see I've got some darks and some lights in here. Here is my patterned cardstock. Now the glue that I like to use for this, if I'm not using foam tape, is the Cosmic Acrylic Glue. And I've got a little tip that I've discovered, which I really like. I'm using the fine tip glue applicators. These are from Crafter's Companion. You get 2 bottles in here. And what I like to do is just decant some of my white glue in here. Then I've got this really fine tip applicator and a little pin that I can use to keep that clear and unstoppered. So what I will do is simply flip this over. So I'm working on the reverse side, and just apply a little bit of this glue. So you don't need very much, and that fine tip applicator will just make it a lot easier to sort of spotlight various areas. I like to do the bottom of the piece as well, and then up here. Now you see that I'm concentrating my glue coverage in the darker areas of the design, like so. And then simply flip this over, and maybe I'll have it kind of interacting with some of the design printed onto the paper. Now what's nice about this is that you don't have to worry about overdoing it with the glue, which can sometimes happen where it sort of squelches out everywhere. This way I'm keeping it clean and tidy and really well focused on there. Then just let that dry, and I'm ready to go and embellish the rest of my card. So let me bring back in the card again, and you can see one more time where I've added that little butterfly right here on the inside of my card design. So then I've got one more card project that I want to share with you, and this one features some ink splattering on the background here. Now this is a really fun way to add some more texture, some more faux texture on the pattern paper. And this is also a fun way to incorporate some of our hunky-dory dye-based ink. So what I'll do is grab my craft mat, my distress splatter brush, and my water, and we can take a look at how easy that is to do. For this card, I wanted to add a little bit of extra color and dimension just in this lightly colored area here in the center. And so in addition to the beautiful collage work that's on that pattern paper, I've also added some spattering using the Orchid dye-based ink from Hunky Dory. Now, to give a spattering effect to this background paper, it just adds a little extra texture and dimension. And this is a great way to put your dye-based ink pads to use. So let's take a look at how easy this is to do. First of all, I'm working onto my craft mat, and that's going to give me, well, it'll protect my work surface, but it will also give me a palette in which to do my inking. I have my distress splatter brush on hand, well used, as you can see here, and that's what will give me this spattered effect. Now I've also got a cup of water, and that's going to help me create this watery wash here that you'll see. So let me grab a piece of cardstock here. And what I'm going to do is simply take my Orchid ink pad. I'm going to press this down here. And then I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet. So I've just dunked that into my jar of water. And I'm going to create a bit of a watery wash here, just on the tips of my bristles. Then what I'll do, position my brush perpendicular to the cardstock, and I'm going to splatter this on here. Now you can do a lot or a little, completely up to you, but you can see there it's giving just a really pretty fine misting of that color. Now if I'm working with the Orchid, I'll get a beautiful tone-on-tone effect. Of course, you can also use the charcoal, which is a nice dark black color. You can use this to create a different look. So let me show you this. I'm going to bring in this piece, which has my rub-on. So remember that beautiful botanical and the word sweet on here. If I wanted to create some spattering around the outside edge, I can definitely do that. And it will create a really pretty sort of halo effect. Now, because the rub-on is a non-porous surface, the ink, the watery ink won't dry on there, so I can blot that away and create sort of a halo effect. So in this case, I'll use that charcoal. Don't need a whole lot, so just a little bit on here. Again, add some water to this. I did not clean the brush in between, that's okay. And then same process as before, simply splattering this around here. Again, as much or as little as you want. And then what I like to do is let this dry on the cardstock area, and then I'll take a dry cloth, tissue, a dry baby wipe will do the trick, and then blot off any of the ink from the rub-on area. And this will create a really pretty element of texture without obliterating the rub-on design. And that's because, again, the rub-on is a non-porous surface. So you can mix and match those mixed media techniques, which is a lot of fun too, and gives you lots of other options for design. Okay, I'll bring back in my original card and we can talk a little bit more about this. Now I've got my spattered area here. Now this has been inked around the outside edges, again using the lovely lilac. So the two inks are the ones that I used today for this card. And then I've got a rub-on border going across the bottom here. Now this is actually made up of 3 different rub-ons. I have this wider stripe, and then I have 2 narrower kind of diagonal lines going top and bottom. There's a rub-on sentiment down here at the bottom. And then the focal is made up of an acetate botanical and a laser cut botanical. This one has been popped up with foam tape. And of course, a butterfly and a bow, both of those laser cuts. Now in the background area here, I've got some more rub-ons just to add a bit of texture around the outside edges. Now for my card inside, I have 2 strips of inked paper. Those have both been inked with the lilac. And I have another border rub-on going along here. Another rub-on on my sentiment, this little label. That is a laser cut, as is the bow. And then to finish it off, this beautiful butterfly rub-on. And that is our final project of the day today. So a big thank you to our friends at 49 and Market for always creating such beautiful products, so easy and so much fun to work with. A big thank you to you for joining me today. We're really glad that you're here and we're happy you're a part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.